Warning. This podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Podcast, the show where any late night Eddie Bravo can feel, any armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. See, this is late night, it's live, this is how it happens. You know, it's only going to get worse from here. So strap in, folks. We're doing it live. Fuck it. We're doing it live. So thank you once again to everyone for tuning in and for everyone who's going to watch the replay and laugh hysterically at our shenanigans as we trip through another live episode here. For this live episode, I have got my brother from another mother, my Wednesday night homeboy, the one and only Golf T Vapes here with me. TJ, how the fuck you doing, brother?
Fucking doing.
Hell yes. So, as you might be a little off-put by us doing this on a week where there is no UFC event taking place, there is a very, very important event taking place this weekend, despite it not being of the UFC variety. And now what I am talking about is the Bellator 222 card. Boys and girls, this card is being slept on like no card this year has. And I'm not saying it's the biggest card in the world, but damn it, there are some seriously significant fights and some relevant events surrounding the MMA world as a whole taking place this weekend that are seeming to get just not as much spotlight as I feel that they're deserving because the UFC's name isn't attached to it. So we are going to give a little bit of a breakdown here, a little bit of a run through of some of these fights. We're not going to go as deep as we usually do with the UFC card just because there aren't as many relevant fights of that caliber, but the ones that are there, hang on, there's some good ones. So as we do with these shows, the first thing I am going to do here is give just a couple pieces of news and recent events. There have been a couple of fights announced this week on the UFC side that do bear mentioning because they are going to have some serious implications in their relevant divisions. Now, the first one I want to take just a second to talk about here, they have not confirmed the date yet, but there are tentative talks confirmed by both sides that the fight is going to take place. They're just working out the date they're actually going to make it happen, and that is Jessica Andrade, the new strawweight belt holder on the women's side, taking on Zhao Wang, the new up-and-coming Chinese prospect. Now, this fight is, when you hear the announcement, it instantly makes you want to scratch your head and stop and think for a second because this just happened. Jessica just got the belt by a very, very controversial and very widely discussed situation here. Zhang is definitely coming up worthy of a definite shot, title shot right away. Negligible, but the thing that everyone is flocking to right away when you hear the story is, well, why isn't Rose getting her rematch? Rose should get a rematch. She was the champ. She deserves a rematch. Take a breath. Calm the fuck down. It's okay. Both Rose and her manager have released statements. Yes, Rose wants the rematch, but she had a slight neck injury going into that fight to begin with. Then with the way that fight ended, clearly there is a little bit of a spinal situation going on right now. So she is going to sit out. She is going to fully heal, get herself completely back to 100%. And when she is ready, yes, she is going to come back and want that rematch against Jessica, whether or not Jessica has the belt, she says. And no, she is not retiring. That was just some in-the-moment thoughts and some things that she'd been running around. So yes, the Rose and Jessica Andrade rematch is going to happen, whether it is for the belt or not, but not right now. Rose is stepping back to get herself better, and that's exactly what you want to see from fighters of championship caliber. She was injured. She's going to take the time.
I want to take a brief moment just to interject here. I was not laughing that Rose got her neck injured. I was laughing at you at the way you gurged.
When I was trying to figure out how to describe it in my head, I just thought of Gobbles from South Park.
In all seriousness, I can understand why it's not an immediate thing. And on the other side of that, I'm also going to play devil's advocate with her. She took a really long time before she defended that belt, and I think not letting go of that Kimura trap that she had set was partially ring rust. Because she probably fucking knows better. And if she doesn't, she fucking knows now.
Yeah, you would hope at that point.
But I wish her a fucking speedy recovery because I'm actually ready to see that fight again because she was winning that fucking fight up until that point.
Handily.
And easily. So I think it was just a lapse in judgment on her part. Hopefully she gets better soon. As far as Zhang getting a fucking immediate title fight, dude, whatever. She's doing work. I'll give her that. She's been doing work and solid work at that. I don't think that she's too on Josh's level yet, but I mean, UFC likes to throw fucking people into deep water and watch them flounder miserably, and then oh yeah, you don't belong here, and then toss them to the curb. So
Derek Lewis. Sorry, I had something in my throat there.
Yeah, and Derek got fucked. If Derek would have had proper ample time to train, I think he would have put up a much better fight. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about that. It is what it is.
It is. It is indeed. So, shit, I just lost. And now I lost the other fight that I had pulled up. And I can't remember because we've gotten into one of those tangents that we tend to do. So we'll just jump right along. We'll piggyback right over it. And if it comes to me later, we'll come back to it. But starting with this Bellator 220, starting right at the top on the prelims. Now, again, we're not going to break down every fight on the prelims. Bellator prelim has a very, very significant card. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights on the prelim card for this event. Not bad. I'll tell you this. I would rather see them put 13 fights on a prelim than to put four fights on an early prelim and then the other 9 on the actual prelim. I get it. Leave the 13 together. So now we're not going to break down every one of these, obviously, here. There's 13 fucking prelim fights. But what I do want to say is, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the fighters in these 13 bouts this weekend are making their Bellator debut, including one of the ladies' fights, Larkin Dash versus Valerie Lareta. They're both making their Bellator debut against each other. So, hats off to that. So that's obviously one fight I do want to mention specifically is Larkin Dash versus Valerie Lareta. That has 2 up-and-coming lady prospects going head-to-head for their debut, which generally tends to create a nice set of fireworks here. One of the other fights that I want to take a quick moment to talk about here that I did not realize was even on this card until I started doing some research about this last night on my own, and come to find out the one and only Renzo Gracie himself's brother, Hobson Gracie Jr., is making his Bellator debut this weekend, Friday night, on the prelim card against Oscar Vera. So there's Gracie in the building in the prelims, and then there's going to be a little more Gracie we're going to talk about when we get to the main card. But before we get to that, there is another one here. I do want to take just a moment and talk about Reina Kabuta versus Lindsay Van Zandt. This is another, Van Zandt is making her debut, or Van Zandt is welcoming Reina in her debut, rather. Reina is a female shoot fighting champion coming into Bellator to give her a shot at the bigger stage of MMA. That, I think, is going to be a fucking spectacular fight, because go watch some footage on Reina. When you're done with this, pause it, go look up some footage on Reina. That lady is scary good. And if she can transition into MMA, that young woman is going to pose some serious fucking problems.
That's not a really big, tall task to transition from shoot fighting to MMA. They're pretty similar.
Real
they have a lot of similarities. I'll leave it at that, but a lot of it's basically the same. Yeah, there are some few minor differences, but I think that's going to cause her to show off some fireworks.
I agree.
she already knows what she's doing when it comes to fucking combat sports. Now she's just getting a bigger stage to do it on. Hopefully, it's a good catapult for a fantastic career for her.
Absolutely. That's a woman that I did not realize had the intention to come over. If you watch a lot of the hardcore highlight reel fight recap shows, if you're really, really hardcore fight fan, like I am a lot of the time, you've seen some of this woman's highlight reels, whether you realize it or not. She's fucking dangerous. And if she's coming to Bellator, all I'm saying is watch your ass, ladies, because there's a serious threat moving in. So the last fight I want to take a moment to mention here on the prelim card is Adam Borix versus Aaron Pico. Now, this is being touted as the moment we're supposed to see whether Aaron Pico is truly completely mentally back from that vicious knockout that he suffered. I'm hoping so. He looks good. His press talk, he's got great attitude. He seems real focused. He seems real clear. He's got his eye on the prize. He's back. He says he's ready to show what he's actually capable of. Borix is not an easy fight. Borix has an iron chin and a steel hand that could cause a real problem if Pico gets sloppy like he did when he got himself knocked out. So here's to hoping Aaron learned his fucking lesson and he doesn't go headhunting on a guy that he thinks is hurt and get himself put to fucking sleep again. But that's the last fight of the prelim. So that's going to be fireworks setting up, coming right into Darian fucking Caldwell, the Wolf, fighting Kyoji Horiguchi. We are talking bantamweight title fight here, folks. Cross-promotional goodness. Bellator with this card has opened the door to Bellator versus Ryzen. Scott Coker made a point to mention in press this week. He has no problem opening that same exact door to cross championship or just cross exhibition matches with Bellator and ONE FC or with Bellator and UFC. Scott Coker welcomes all fighters from all organizations for interleague competition. And I think this is absolutely beautiful. This is the beginning of how we as fight fans get what we always dream of. Those fantasy matches that you talk about. If this guy from here could have ever fought this guy from here in his prime, if we could have ever got him in the same organization. Now it doesn't fucking matter anymore because we've got international organization heads openly willing to talk about interleague competition. And that's how it starts, folks. That's when it gets to a point where it doesn't matter who signs you. If you're the best, you'll fight the best from across the world. So that world championship title is going to start to carry a literal meaning to it, like it should. You will literally have to be the best in the world to call yourself the best in the world in the near future.
I really do like this. However, there is one caveat that I worry about with this.
Here we go.
Boxing. How many fucking belts are there in boxing because of this type of situation in our organization switching over? So you get these super belts and all this other shit. If they're going to do that, that's fine. I love this. I really do, because I've had those thoughts. What if we could have seen fucking Fedor in his prime versus somebody like fucking Randy Couture in his prime? Those fights would have been fucking magical. But I just worry about that one caveat of don't make a bunch of other fucking belts, please. Just work off the belts we have, figure that out in the contracts, and go from there. If you're fighting UFC rule set, do it UFC's belts that's online. If you're fighting Ryzen, do it Ryzen. ONE FC's, Bellator, so on and so forth. But don't make a whole bunch of other belts. But to be honest, this is a good way to fucking start this progress, because this is a fantastic matchup.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it is.
Both of these two bantamweights, go watch their highlight reels. These two guys fucking just animals. And you're gonna let two of the best fight each other. What could be better?
Yeah, for the Bellator bantamweight belt.
Yeah. what gets better than that? This is the start of that fight fantasy league, basically, is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
It's now, there is going to be one other caveat to this. We know there is one cocksucker, with all due respect, there's one cocksucker that will never let this happen. At least not in his promotion.
Right.
That's going to be Big Daddy Dana White. Because God forbid that one of his fighters in the best organization in the world gets fucked up by somebody who's from a lower organization. Because he doesn't want those things to happen. He might, but it's going to be, whatever he does, he's going to stack the odds in his favor. I know how that fucker's going to work.
Yeah, you know
I get it. And the only other thing I wonder about here on this, how does this work for paydays for these fighters? Because they are cross-promoting. So somebody's going to get a bigger cut. One, your Bellator fighter, your Bellator champ right now, Darren Caldwell, he's got to be getting a way bigger paycheck on this fight.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
Purely on the fact of it's on a Bellator card. Look, I'm sure they did some fantastic things, negotiating contracts and everything, but I'm sure there's a way bigger cut for him on this. And that's just the way it's going to work. I wonder how that'll affect those fantasy fights that we do want to see moving forward. Don't get me wrong. I like where this is fucking headed. Stockhoker, fucking moving in the right direction, son. Keep that up. Maybe Big Daddy Dana will learn a lesson and take a thing or two from you. You know what? At this rate, they keep doing these things, stacking these types of cards like this. They're going to, I would assume, give UFC one of two things: a very strong run for their money, or they're going to overtake them.
Yep.
One of the two, because if you're allowing situations like this, the UFC is going to have to do something to step up its game. Because they can't go, well, I'm still the best person in the world when you're really fucking not. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, I absolutely agree. And I think that the way that Scott Coker has done this one in particular is the perfect way to do it, because this fight is going to be on a DAZN card. So there's not going to be pay-per-view, but there is going to be extra money from DAZN because it's through that subscription service. So there will be a little bit of a payday incentive for both sides to come to play here, because now Ryzen is getting featured fights on DAZN, whether the whole, organization gets fights or not. Their fighter is getting represented on a new broadcasting network. So they're immediately getting new promotions without having to actively be involved right now. That's a brilliant way to do it. And then if this works out good, then you look at potentially the next time putting it on a pay-per-view situation. And now you're talking pay-per-view dollars to help not only boost the promotions, but boost the paydays for the fighters. And when you start talking about real pay-per-view money for fighters who've been scratching at ONE FC peanuts in the fight that they and their fans all want to see, now you're starting to put a lot of serious pressure on Daddy Dana to get his head out of his ass and stop being so fucking stubborn. Look, I get Dana has been running this shit for a hot minute, and clearly it fucking works, because the UFC is still the name you associate for most people when you talk MMA. I get that. But there comes a point when what worked to get you here will not work to carry you forward. That point is quickly approaching the combat sports entertainment arena. It's time to start figuring out how the future of this sport is really going to work. And in my opinion, I don't give a fuck how many times Dana says it. ESPN and ESPN Plus are not the sole way to carry the UFC forward. It's not going to work, especially when you've got Bellator and Ryzen, and now the door being open to ONE FC and others like that as well. On the other side of the board, you're going to get left in the dust.
Not to mention, look at their pay-per-view numbers. In the fucking shitter.
Yep. Yeah, despite having some good fights on the last couple pay-per-views.
Dude, this last weekend was fucking fabulous. They had a fantastically stacked card. And did anybody look at the pay-per-view numbers? They were fucking garbage. They should have been 3 times, 4 times what that were at least. Do you mean even on their worst days, they were still doing 500,000 buys? Yep. They're not doing that anymore. I think their best one so far was like 100 and some odd thousand.
I think Dana said that the one from this last weekend was like 175,000.
Yeah, it's really, that's not anything for them to even shake a stick at, considering.
2 fucking titles on the card. plus the People's Main Event.
Yeah.
175,000 pay-per-views.
And
Really?
guess what? All of those 2 title fights and the People's Main Event, they all lived up to the hype.
Damn right they did. And you still get 175,000 pay-per-views off of that?
Those are the fucking fights that people buy the fucking pay-per-views for. They're not buying it for the undercard stuff that's on the main card. They're looking for what's the title fight, who's the people's fight that we actually want to see.
Yep. Which, to be fair, this last pay-per-view, the whole fucking prelim and early prelim setup was all main card caliber fights as well. That card was top to fucking bottom. If ever there was a card in 2019 that should have done 1 million plus, it was this one, and they did 175,000.
I think the worst part of that is I think there was all but maybe, I think it was 2 fights on that entire card from top all the way to the early prelims. Only 2 of those fights had both unranked fighters in them.
Yep.
Everyone else had some sort of rank in the top 15. And they were all meaningful fights for those fighters.
Yep.
Which was fucking fantastic to see. But it's just a sad way that is going, that it's just gone to complete shit there.
Yeah, it didn't resonate with the numbers. And that's the opposite of what's going on right here. I think because Bellator and Ryzen particularly don't traditionally get as much spotlight and as much of the limelight when you talk about the combat sports world, especially now with UFC being on ESPN, because like it or not, it gets talked about on ESPN and ESPN2, as well as ESPN XM and their fucking YouTube channels. It's getting UFC out there 20 times more than it ever was before. That I will not deny in any way, shape, or form. I see it in fucking commercials. I hear it on the fucking radio all the time. It's absolutely getting it out there more.
And you see it on, dude, I seen it on a fucking commercial on the Disney Channel. Yeah. I was watching something with my son, and there's a fucking UFC fucking commercial. I was like, get the fuck out. I was like,
YouTube commercials. I was watching something with the wife the other day, and it was one of those like mid-video fucking break, like 12-second commercials. It was a commercial for the fucking UFC event last weekend, and it was an ESPN commercial. So, you know, they're clearly getting them out there, but I think doing shit like this, getting this cross-promotional door open, will get them in the long run way, way more fan draw and way more attention than getting on ESPN is going to do for UFC. Because if you're still doing the same shit with a bigger promotion, you're just doing the same shit with a bigger promotion. These guys are opening the fucking door here, man.
They're opening fucking Pandora's box.
Yes.
And it is fantastic. I can't wait to see the shit that ensues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, to move along, the next one that I want to talk about here, the next fight on this card, another firework fucking show that everyone I encourage should be paying attention to. Juan Archuleta versus Eduardo Dantas. There is so much fucking hatred between these two gentlemen. There is so much fire brewing between these two guys that are about to go the fuck at it. And if you've ever seen Juan Archuleta before, that man is so fucking explosive. You would never look at that gentleman and think he's as quick and as dangerous as he is just at a glance. He's one of those, I believe they call him average assassins. The guy that just looks like a fucking regular run-of-the-mill John Schmo and then turns out to be a fucking killer when you put him in an octagon. Now, Eduardo Dantas is no fucking slouch on the other side of that, but the hatred that these two gentlemen have for each other is going to create a fucking firestorm, I believe, in the octagon. Now, I'm not going to count Dantas completely out, but I am fucking team Archuleta on this shit. I have been a fan of Juan's for a hot minute now because that motherfucker is smooth and I love it. So I think Archuleta is going to take this, but holy shit, this is a matchup, folks.
You hit just about everything on the head there, except for I think I would have described him more like a farm truck 10-second drag racer. Because you know what? He's a fucking sleeper. Yeah. People look at him and you go, yeah, no, fuck that guy. No. Yeah. It's funny considering these two, they're for mainstream MMA fans. I'll say, well, casual MMA fans is what I'm saying, not mainstream, excuse casual MMA fans aren't gonna know these two assholes from fucking Joe Dirt and fucking Pete McGuire down the fucking street. You're not gonna know those fuckers. Those of us who do watch, we know them. We've seen their bodies work. So you guys don't watch this fight. It's gonna be fireworks. What's really funny though is I want to see, with all of the hatred and animosity that's going on for this one, who's going to let it get to them when they step in there? Who's going to be able to stick to their game plan instead of just going in there pissed off and doing stupid shit? Because they're fucking
mental space upstairs that's getting taken out from the other guy, and who's going to be able to focus?
Yep, that's what I want to see. Because you know what? That makes and breaks a lot of fucking fights. Can you get in somebody else's head and stay there? Or can they just go, you know what? Yep, that was prior to fight. Fucking like a duck, calm as fuck, and just go in there and do their job. But this one's definitely gonna be fireworks, and I'm gonna have to say I'm on the farm truck train here because there's something about a guy when you look at him and you go, "There's no fucking way." Look, I'm gonna make this comparison, and I know you don't like this motherfucker, but I think this is a great comparison here when it comes to farm trucks. Roy Nelson, he was a farm truck at one point, a farm truck sleeper. He's not anymore, but he was at one point. You look at that motherfucker and said, no, he ain't going to do nothing. No.
I will give him
this,
that.
This is the same thing with Juan. You look at him and you go, there's no fucking way. Get the fuck out. He's going to do it. I'm telling you. And I don't think, but it depends. Is he going to still have fucking Archuleta in his head or not? Or is Archuleta going to have fucking Dante's in his head? Vice versa. Either way, it's going to be whose fucking mental game is stronger for this fight. I really do think so. However, I'm team farm truck on this one.
Hell yeah. Excuse me. So we're going to skip the next fight because it's a fight, but I'm not going to take that much time to talk about it here. I'm going to jump right over that to a little bit more of, I'm not going to say a more important fight, but a more watched fight. This fight is going to be more supervised. There's going to be more eyes glued to this fight in particular for a multitude of reasons. What I'm talking about is Dylan Dennis versus Max Humphrey. Now, I don't know many people that would be watching this show and not know who Dylan Dennis is, but there is a very good chance that most people watching or listening to this show are not going to know who Max Humphrey is. And that's not a slight against Max Humphrey. That's just because he hasn't had a chance to get quite into a UFC caliber organization just yet. Max Humphreys is a pretty damn decent fighter, but everyone knows who Dylan Conor McGregor Jr. Dennis is. Now, if you don't know by his reputation or his loud personality, you could let his fucking neon green gym shoes talk loud enough to where you'll be able to see Dylan Dennis. But he is, to his credit, a world-renowned black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner of one of the highest orders. There is a lot of controversy involved in that unto itself, but in his exhibitions and competitions, he has absolutely proven he has some fucking skills. Now, moving into the MMA world, he has only had one fight with Bellator, which he did win by a submission. So now they're giving him a second fight here, and I get it. I get it. I fucking get it. I see it every goddamn time there is anything posted about him on social media, be it Instagram, Facebook, what have you. The fucking haters come out in troves using dump trucks full of fucking shade to throw at Dennis. And I get it. I get it. He can be a fucking tool. I get it. He tries so hard to be Conor, even though he's not. And I get it. But if people can look past cringe Hudo's bullshit for his triple C status, and yes, I'm using air quotes for those listening, you have to be willing to consider looking past Dylan's cringe level and let his body of work speak for him. And I understand that as an overall, that's a little tough to do. Same with the asshole who wore a fucking crown and cloak to a fucking weigh-in carrying a top hat and a magic wand throwing shit in the audience, okay? That takes a little looking over too. But put your shades on. Don't let the neon green shoes get to you. Watch this fight. Humphrey, is going to try and keep this on the feet. He's not stupid. He's not going to try and go playing with Danis on the fucking ground. He's also got some serious fucking power in his hands when he plants right. Dylan is cocky as shit. For good reason to a degree, but he's cocky as shit. So I think this is going to come down to, is Dylan Danis going to let his fucking ego dictate this fight and possibly leave his chin exposed to a guy who could put it into the fucking bleachers? Or is he going to be smart, knowing that the eyes are really starting to fucking focus on him, be serious, use a legitimate fucking game plan, and most likely try to submit Humphrey to get that BJJ into the MMA world kind of steamroller a little bit more oomphed up? I can't honestly, confidently, as a Dylan Danis fan, say that I have 100% confidence in him being able to take this fucking match, because Humphrey is no fucking joke and Dylan is cocky as shit. But I feel that at the end of the day, this is a little bit of a case of Bellator kind of soup canning Dylan to help get him promoted. Humphrey is not overall on the same level as Danis is as a combat athlete, but he's clearly got skill and chance enough to be able to take this fight. But I'm going to give that little bit of faith to Danis that he's going to put his bullshit aside, even if just for a moment, to get into that cage and focus and do it right. And I think Danis is actually going to, I'm thinking ankle leg lock here. I'm not thinking he's going to choke him. I don't think Humphreys is dumb enough to let him take his back. But I feel like Danis is going to go for the legs or the ankles in this time and try and get a submission
here. Oh, where to fucking begin with this nonsensical bullshit? All right, let's start here. Being as we are talking mainly Dylan Danis with you, we're going to start here. One, he is no fucking Conor McGregor. He's got no one-punch knockout. He doesn't have any of that in his repertoire. He's nowhere near fucking close when it comes to stand-up, period. Look, Max Humphrey, he can be fucking Joe Dirt for all I care, but he obviously has better stand-up game than Dylan does, period. Dylan is a known fucking grappler, and a very good one at that. I'm not going to take that away from him. However, because of the way that he runs his mouth, his ego is so fucking huge, I really think that that's going to get in the way. And you know what? You're probably right. Bellator thinks they're soup canning this to help Dylan out. I think they're fucking wrong. I think this is going to be that wake-up call that he needs of, hey, I need to step in and refocus, not try to be fucking Conor, because I'm not. I'm never going to get a fucking $100 million payday with Floyd Mayweather in a boxing ring, because I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to throwing a fucking straight punch or anything like that. Now, with all of that takeaway for him, my hat is off to his grappling ability. His fucking BJJ, fantastic. Contrary to what everybody is fucking going out there and blasting him about. However, I really think this is going to be a case of his ego gets in the way because he got his first win, and he's going to get caught. He's going to end up getting fucking knocked out because he's going to let his ego do the talking. Don't get me wrong, when he gets into trouble, the first thing you know he's going to do is he's going to look for a fucking takedown or a clinch or something to try to get into a grappling exchange. However, Max already knows what's going on with this dude. He's not fucking stupid. His team is going to be doing nothing but ride the bike, keep it at a distance, because you know what? That's what it'll eventually is going to win him the fight. I think what it's going to come down to is, does Max keep his distance? Because we already know Dylan's not going to lose his personality at any point. That just doesn't happen with him. I think what's going to happen is Max is going to end up catching him on the outside before there's a chance for a grappling exchange. Because somebody's going to walk in with their chin up, strutting their shit because they've already got one submission victory and they think they're going to get an easy one. So I say this one goes to Max, but I think it's going to be one of two ways. It's either going to be third round late second knockout, or he's going to get him via points, via decision, the end three. Because I don't. He's definitely not gonna submit Dylan. I can tell you that. But he's gonna win this fight. This is gonna be Dylan's wake up call to say, hey, I need to go train my boxing. I need to go train my fucking Muay Thai. I need to go train my stand up because obviously I can't do it on BJJ alone. Look at just the way mixed martial arts has evolved. There are very few people who can do that, and most of them right now are not very relevant anymore. They were at one point. I mean, case in point, Damian Maia. That dude did it on BJJ alone. However, he's no longer in that relative picture. Yes, he's still ranked, but he's not relative anymore to any of it. He's fallen off because people have figured out how to work against that. Don't get me wrong. It is still one of the most effective things out there for MMA, but people know how to work around it now. So I'm pretty sure Humphrey's going to come in there, do his job, get it done. I say late second, early third. If he doesn't get the knockout, it's going to be points win because he'll outpoint him on the feet.
Well, and that's one of the things is that with Dylan coming in with the fucking ego that we know that he has, there's every possibility that Max could catch him trying to come in and trying to be slick and rock him, and then I could absolutely see a fucking Imanari roll out of nowhere and Max just being blindsided to lead into that fucking heel hook or that fucking ankle lock or that fucking knee bar that he could throw Max into. Because as much as I like Max, his BJJ defense is not going to be at the level of Dylan's BJJ offense. And that is going to be the problem, in my opinion.
You're right 100% on that. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but that chin being fucking left open, you get rocked. If you get rocked hard enough, you ain't even already rolling anybody.
Yeah, no, and
I agree. You're rolling is straight to the fucking mat.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big deciding factor here because we know at some point Dylan's going to fucking shoot. Whether it's in the beginning of the fucking fight or whether he waits till the second fucking round and he tries to play and look fancy. We know Dylan's going to shoot. And when he does, can Max time him and can Max fucking counter him and can Max clip him clean enough to get that fucking leg threat out of the way?
My thought there is, I think if he's smart, he'll wait till the second round to try to take down. However, the first round, they're not all greased up. It's easier to secure. However, it's going to be harder for him to keep him down because he'll still be fresh enough to be able to power out of things. Whereas,
well, and that's exactly why I'm thinking leg ankle and early because Dylan's not stupid. Dylan's going to know exactly like you're saying here. First round, they're still dry. They haven't gotten sweaty. There's no fucking Vaseline running off their goddamn faces yet. There's no blood leaking usually. So it's easier to grab and fucking lock in and hold tight, especially when you're talking about a guy's legs when he's trying to get the fuck away from you. If you can grab a guy's leg, fucking wrap that knee bar up or grab a fucking ankle lock and bend him backwards, it's a lot easier to get him to do the fucking tap in the first round. Whereas if you try and be fucking Mr. Showy for the first round and be Mr. fucking ego, like we also know that Dylan is fucking capable of doing, and then you try and play that fucking leg game, or you try and play that wrap-up game in the second round, and sweat's flowing, it's harder to hold him still, it's harder to get your fucking grip, you know, your gables are a lot more likely to fucking slide when you're rubbing sweat off a dude's fucking back to hold him down. I don't know. Like, I'm absolutely willing to 100% concede that there is every possibility that Dylan's going to be stupid, come in sloppy, and get put the fuck to sleep on here, but I've got just the tiniest little bit of faith in him that he's going to have prepared for that and know that everybody's going to want to see that and try.
The one thing I would wonder about this fight, and I know this will never happen in a million years, what are the chances in Vegas, or what are the Vegas odds that Humphreys submits Dennis?
Now, see, that actually, if you think about it, that would probably be the biggest set of upset odds where you would make the most money. I would actually not be mad at all, just for the fucking irony that would create. And I agree, I don't see it ever happening, but I would actually be okay with that just because of the fucking what the hell that would create because of that situation.
The only way I can see that is if he rocked him so hard that he gets like fucking side control and manages like a head norm choke or something like that.
Yeah, throws a fucking triangle over him or something.
Yeah, but if he rocks him, he's gonna ground and pound this.
Yeah, he's
But
gonna.
it just popped into my head, and I was like, oh, that would be kind of funny. I wonder what the Vegas odds on that would be. I'm gonna have to go look that up and see.
I was gonna say now I'm curious, but I bet those are fucking astronomical. But at the same time,
it's like a 16. It's like a fucking 1,600 underdog.
yeah, something. Oh, but holy shit, that would be hilariously ironic. I would feel bad for Dylan just the slightest bit, but I wouldn't be mad about it at all. I would laugh.
You know what? On the opposite side of that, being as I know it wouldn't happen, being how cocky Dylan is and how good he is, he might think there's no way a chance in hell. And he'd be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, and then get caught.
Right.
That I could see just purely because of the personality and his ego. But I highly doubt that it's going to happen because when you're in a bad situation, you always go to what's comfortable. Jiu-jitsu is comfortable for him. So
yeah, you go to what you know when the shit hits the fan, and Dylan knows BJJ. So yeah, that would be a definite long shot odd, but I would laugh at that. I would laugh about
that. I'm still calling Humphrey's going to win this fight. It's either going to be a KO late second, third, or decision if he doesn't KO him in the second or early third.
I could see that. I could see this is one of those fights that realistically you could see going one of several ways, and none of them would really be that off-putting because of the factors playing in from both sides here, and still Dylan's ego being the heaviest goddamn factor involved.
The only thing I think I'm more off-put by this fight is the fact that they put it on the main card.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, nothing against Dennis or Humvees, but that fight does not meet main card quality.
Yeah, no, I agree. And now that you mention it, 6 fights on the main card, but 13 on the prelim. Pull that Aaron Pico fight. Put that Aaron Pico fight. Pico's got fucking eyes watching him, especially after that fucking knockout from last time. Yeah. Throw that fucking Pico fight on the main card. Make it fucking 7, Grab fucking half a dozen of these fucking fights from the prelims, Larkin.
You know what? I would say even just switch the fucking Pico fight out with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's
that would be much better in my eyes. Just nothing against Dennis and them, but I don't think either one of them should be main card status. The only reason Dennis is pulling that is because of his fucking ego.
Well, and to that point though, if that's how they wanted to play it, why not put both Gracies on the main card?
Yes.
You've got a Gracie headlining the event for the belt. Why not put his fucking uncle on the main card with him? He's far more fucking wide known than Dylan Dennis is in the fucking jiu-jitsu world. And if that's the eyes you're trying to pull, you can put that guy on the fucking prelims and let Dylan Dennis be your fucking almost star, the, early or the co main event.
Yep.
I don't know. I definitely see a little bit of that. And I don't want to say that it's the UFC-ism in there. I think that actually may be representative of the way that Scott Coker tends to book, and Dana White may have just had a little bit of that rub off on him, the way that he keeps it going like this.
And that very well could be, but I think a lot of that has to do with those guys find somebody who they really like and they want to put them out there.
Yeah.
Case in point, shitbag McFuckface who's in the UFC. I can't even think of his fucking name now, but they keep throwing him
Greg.
And just let him go fucking ham.
Greg Fuckboy.
Yeah, you know which fuckboy I'm talking about. The one who I don't even think should be allowed to fight MMA, period. Fucking woman.
Greg, the Prince of Douchebags Hardy. Yeah.
That dude can go fuck himself.
That dude can walk in front of a train and no one would be sad.
I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire.
No, not in the least. But moving on from shitbags who we don't want to talk about to shitbags who we can't wait to talk about here. That's right. The American gangster, Chael P. fucking Sonnen, is fighting Lyoto the Dragon Machida as the co-main event for this fucking card. And still, somehow, they aren't getting the fucking promotion that they deserve, in my opinion. This fight alone could carry this whole fucking card and make it a legitimate Bellator pay-per-view, in my opinion. But they're going to let it co-main event for this card, and I'm not mad at that either, because if you've watched the open workouts, if you've watched the behind the scenes training, if you've watched the press that both Lyoto and Chael P have been doing, and I'm not talking about Ariel and the bad guy, I'm not talking about the show that he does, you know, on ESPN. I'm talking about just the regular Bellator promotions for both of these gentlemen and the open workout videos for both of these gentlemen. I think realistically, both of these gentlemen are in the best shape they have been in of their careers. And I understand that Chael was way hotter back in the day as far as career wins and big title worthy shots go. Same with Lyoto. I understand that his fucking prime was behind him. I'm saying for the age that both of these gentlemen are, they're both still fighting at world caliber levels. They are both in legitimate good condition. This is going to be a real fucking fight. And because both of these gentlemen have made their way to Bellator, we are now getting another one of those fantasy fights that those of us hardcore MMA fans wondered about for fucking years. Would we get to see these two line up head to head? It didn't happen in the UFC the way some of us would have liked to back in their prime. But now we're talking about Bellator here, where not to slight Bellator, but a lot of UFC fighters, as they've made their way out of the UFC, have found their way into Bellator and have gotten some of the better matchups that we have always wanted to see. And I think this is going to be another example of just that happening. Granted, 30-year-old Lyoto versus 30-year-old Chael, I absolutely will concede, would have been a goddamn barn burner. You could have sold a billion fucking pay-per-views with that in the right promotion. But we work with what we have, and what we have right now is a very well-conditioned Lyoto Machida and a very game Chael P. Sonnen. Now, I understand that Fedor put a little work in on Chael P. over here, and he tested that fucking chin. But you know what? Look at every other fucking person through history that has caught that Fedor hand and not got a rock. I don't think there's anyone you could mention here, because everyone that fucking Russian put his hands on had a little dimple right there or just went to sleep. So, you know, yeah, that was a loss, but that's one of those that you have to acknowledge would have happened to fucking anybody. So now we talk about Chael P, who is in what is arguably the last leg of his career, but staying in good enough shape to be relevant during it, clearly. And Lyoto on the other side doing the same thing. Can the Dragon put his work in against the Gangster's grappling and his fucking boxing? This is a legitimately good matchup, in my opinion, here, because Lyoto is fucking dangerous from anywhere. He's a great striker, but he's not traditional in the sense that most people would assume a guy known for his karate would be. He's got the off time. He's got the almost counter shot on all of his striking, and he's quick and he's technical with it, almost like a 205 older style bender, if you will, the way that he off steps and he fucking counter shots. And then you've got Chael P on the other side, who, for all intents and purposes, could come out in a fucking singlet, and it wouldn't really be surprising. He's gonna grapple you. He's gonna wrestle you. He's gonna throw you to the fucking ground, but he's gonna punch you in the face before he does it. And the question that I feel is going to determine how this one plays out: can Chael get in through his striking to set up a takedown on Lyoto? If he does, can he keep Lyoto on the ground to put ground and pound in when Lyoto goes into defensive mode? Because the Dragon can bite you from anywhere. He's dangerous anywhere this fight goes, whether he's on his back or you're on your back or you're standing up in the middle of the fucking octagon. You can't outlook him. So I think, in my opinion here, the way this is going to play out, Chael's coming in throwing jabs. He's going to try and jab his way into at least a single leg, but Lyoto's going to be watching for it. I think we're going to see another, maybe not jumping, but definite knee to forehead takeout. I think Chael P, as much as I like the American Gangster, I think he's set in his ways enough to where he's going to try and jab his way into a takedown, but Lyoto's going to see it coming. I think we're going to see a knee to forehead. I think the American Gangster goes to sleep Friday night.
All right. Couple things I need to touch on here really quickly. Yes, a 30-year-old Machida versus Sonnen would have been fantastic. However, at the time, they were both fighting different divisions. Because Chael was fighting middleweight to fight fucking Anderson Silva, where Lyoto Machida was fighting up at light heavyweight, running and getting the title at one point. And then promptly getting put to sleep by John Jones standing on his feet. Um, but this is definitely one of those fantasy fights where you go, I wonder what would have been had they both been in the same weight class fucking 10 years ago when they were both fucking fighting prime and Chael still talks shit. It doesn't stop. That's Chael son, period. But he was in shit talking prime and backing it up prime back in the day. To be quite honest, had it not been for a fluke fucking triangle, he would have been the middleweight title holder and ended fucking Anderson Silva's reign long before the fucking broken tibia. I'm just saying. He was that fucking fantastic back in the day. Deodo was the same. However, he ran up to somebody who knew just a little bit more than he did. However, we're in the fucking present. I gotta stop living in the past because these two fucking guys. Look, Deodo is dangerous from everywhere when it comes to striking. Little known fact, he is also a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. And I said little known fact because you never see him fucking use it because he stays on his feet. Although you wouldn't know that he was a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner after watching him get choked out standing up at John Jones. However, that's a completely different beast there. Chael, on the other hand, yes, they call him the American Gangster. However, his wrestling is fucking godlike. And the best part about him, though, he does not Dagestani wrestle fun. He wrestles you down and then beats the ever-living brakes off of your ass, which is the best thing in the fucking world. I love that about Chael Sonnen. He will continue to go and fight through everything. And I think my host just froze, but that's all right. Anyhow, he's going to go out, and I think because his fight IQ is pretty goddamn high, he's going to figure out a way to get inside and take the other one down. And we're going to end up with a case of ground and pound. However, with that unknown fact of Deodo being such a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, he might get caught too. He might get caught in another fucking triangle for all we fucking know. And if that happens, I would not be surprised because I think Chael Sonnen, when it comes to his wrestling and ground and pound, he's like a fucking pit bull. Once he gets a hold of you, he's going for fucking broke. That's what he does. And he wears guys out like that. He fucking takes names. Yeah, his chin has been tested, but he's also how many fights into the fight game where guess what? That's just called fucking road wear. I mean, you're fucking beat up after that many miles. But to be quite honest, I don't think Leona's going to win this fight. As much as that stand-up game can play a factor, I think Chael has such a high fight IQ, he's going to figure out a way around it and get that takedown, be able to hold him down and work the ground and pound like only Chael does. There's not another person that I can think of that does that type of fucking ferocious wrestling with the ground and pound to go with it. I mean, at least not that's current. I'm going to say Chael wins this one, the ground and pound, middle of the third round, after Machida's all tired out. That's probably when that's going to happen. But that remains to be seen. He could get caught coming in for a takedown with a well-timed counter fucking knee or something like that from Leota and lights out. But I think the gangster takes this one just purely because I think he has a high enough fight IQ to get past all of the craziness. And I think the meter has froze himself. Oh, he's zoomed to die. All right, so I guess it's on to me. So for a little bit, I guess I will just talk some more about this fucking matchup. There's a couple things here that I didn't really throw into this. One, Lyoto Machida. Yes, he was a former UFC light heavyweight champion. He ran through people. Chael, him on the other hand, he did not ever get the title while he was in the UFC. So would that dream card have possibly come true? At that point, I don't think so because they were on two separate levels. However, it is still one that we would like to think about on a regular basis. Because to be quite honest, I do want to see that fight over and over and over again because it's one that would just be fantastic to watch because there's so many different outcomes with this fight. It can go Leota's way with a fucking knockout. He might even do something crazy, throw up a fucking submission attempt and manage something of that nature. As far as Chael's concerned, he's not going to submit anybody. He's going to wrestle them. He's going to use his boxing to get in close to pursue a takedown. There's no other way around that. That's what Chael does. He's done that his entire career. Look, you can teach a old dog new tricks, but not in Chael's case. He might know those other tricks. However, he goes back to the well all the time, which is where I think if Leota's gonna catch him, it's gonna be because Chael is back in the well and doing the same thing over and over. I guess part of that is I want to call it the same idea of think of it this way: doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. I love the American Gangster, but he is the definition of an insanity when it comes to doing the same thing over and over. And it's not that he expects different results. He expects the same results because they work. But Leota's been around a long time too. They both have a high fight IQ. However, this time I'm going to say Chael's fight IQ is going to be enough to get him in close to get that takedown and work that ground and pound. The only way he loses this fight, in my opinion, is one of two ways. He gets caught on the way in for a takedown with either a knee or a kick of some sort, or a fluke fucking triangle after he's already beaten the piss out of somebody for 2.5 rounds. But I think Chael's going to end up winning this one. But I think it's going to go longer. I think it's going to end up in the third round before he finishes Machida, and I think it's going to be due to ground and pound.
Interesting. I can absolutely see that being a possibility because, like you said, Chael's wrestling is fucking godly. He really does set the standard as far as MMA wrestling goes because he doesn't just stick to that Greco-Roman style all wrestling. He really has adapted and become one of the bar setters for MMA wrestling, and he does know how to use it against high level martial artists like Lyoto. And you have to assume that Chael's not going to come into this half-cocked. He's not going to come into this with some half-assed plan and wing it. He's going to have a fucking game plan. He's done his homework. He's watched more than enough footage. He's familiar with Lyoto's mannerisms and his triggers. I just feel like because, like you said, he is the definition of insanity, he's going to do the same thing. We know he's going to fucking shoot, just like we know Dylan is going to fucking shoot at some point. Different style of shooting, but we know that they're both coming for that fucking leg at some point. The difference, I think, is that Dylan's just going to try and go, whereas Chael's going to use his lead jab like he tends to do as he finds his way in. But I don't think this is an easy matchup either way. I think there is absolutely a possibility he can get around Lyoto's counter-striking and maybe get him to the ground. And if he does, there is absolutely a chance that it could either go to a crazy fucking triangle because Lyoto is a fucking dangerous man, or it could be Chael getting that ground and pound because he wants this fucking win back after Fedor put him on the fucking canvas. So realistically, it's going to be a great fucking fight. And I think it was a brilliant fucking co-main event for them to put on this card.
Oh, it is fantastic. It's that fantasy. We're getting like double type fantasy matchups here. It's well done. I'm just mad it wasn't 10 years ago when they were both in their prime. They would have had to do a catchweight fight then, but actually, no, they wouldn't have, because fucking Chael would have said, "Fuck it, I'll come to you, motherfucker."
Yeah, no, Chael would have went up, absolutely. But that being covered, that brings us to the meat and potatoes of this particular episode, the main event of the evening. I'm talking about the one and only Rory the Red Queen McDonald versus Neiman fucking Gracie for the welterweight belt. Holy shit, boys and girls. If you aren't fucking excited for this fight, I don't know why the fuck you're watching this show, because this shit is going to be fucking crazy. This is the emergence, if you will, of Rory's I found myself era. He has been married, he has found God, and doesn't feel like he's the violent person that he once was, but isn't ready to stop fighting yet. So we'll see how that plays out when you're coming up against a fucking Gracie, who is hungry as ever was a fighter to get this belt and put some gold back in a Gracie family cabinet. Because, like we discussed a little while ago, his uncle is also fighting on this card. So we have Dos Gracies on this Bellator event, with this one headlining the fucking card fighting for the title. This is an interesting matchup for a number of different reasons. The main one that I want to talk about here is going to be the striking. Rory has jiu-jitsu. Maybe not Gracie level family jiu-jitsu, but he's got jiu-jitsu. On the opposite side of that card, Neiman's got some hands. Neiman can throw some fucking leather. But you know he's going to default to that jiu-jitsu. And then you got Rory. Rory has been able to strike fairly fucking prominently for a long time now. And you can look all the way back to that fucking unforgettably infamous war between him and Robbie Lawler that may well be one of the best fucking fights of all time. Fuck the Rumble in the Jungle, fuck anything Tyson ever did. That fight and the ending scene in the fucking octagon might be one of the greatest manly battles ever. Watch that fight and tell me you don't get goosebumps at the end. If you don't, you're dead. Holy shit. That set the fucking standard for badass in the MMA world. But we don't have that Rory anymore. He's not that guy anymore. And he hasn't been that guy in quite a while. And not only just since he's been in Bellator, that's part of why he's not in the UFC anymore, is because when he set the standard with Robbie Lawler for being the bad motherfucker, he started to tail slide a little bit afterwards. And the Rory that we've seen isn't completely fallen off by any stretch of the imagination. But the Rory that we have seen since that moment, since that iconic fucking evening, has not been the same Rory who made the world pay attention. Now, when you look at the other side of the octagon from him, though, you've got an up-and-coming Gracie who understands the relevance of his family name, who understands the prestige that that name carries in the MMA world, in the combat sports world. Gracies are the measurement by which anyone else internationally gets judged for good reason. And now you've got a Gracie who's becoming a hybrid of sorts. Not only is he embracing that Gracie family deadly jiu-jitsu that is absolutely world caliber, just devastating, but he's also understanding the complexity of modern MMA and the fact that you can't be a one-trick pony anymore. The days of the specialist are gone. Like you said, Damian Maia came in and devastated the fucking MMA world because he was a bad motherfucker in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But as we've seen in his last couple of matchups, that one-trick pony shit just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't matter how great your one world caliber skill is. If you're not well-rounded to a degree of world caliber status evenly, someone will find that weakness in your armor. They will find that hole in your game and they will fucking exploit it. So he's taken to boxing. He's taken to more wrestling as well as his jiu-jitsu. Neiman has made himself a very complete, a very even and well-rounded martial artist as a whole, Whereas Rory is noticeably starting to slide backwards a little bit and be vocal about how he just doesn't feel the same as he used to, and he doesn't have the drive or the anger that used to fuel him anymore. And I feel like even though he does have the belt right now, those little cracks that he's shown in his armor are just exactly what someone like Neiman is going to take advantage of and pick him apart. I feel like he's going to be better on the feet. I feel like he's going to be better on the ground. I feel like he's going to have clearly the better jiu-jitsu. And I feel like Neiman Gracie is really, in this situation more than any other, a beautiful representation of the new generation of MMA stars starting to take over and take the reins of the organizations from the old guard. It's almost a forced passing of the torch, I feel like. I think Neiman is going to absolutely dismantle Rory McDonald tomorrow night. And I feel like Neiman comes away with this belt by submission.
I can get by submission thing. However, one, yes, Rory put on one fuck of a show. Look, he's definitely not the same guy he was. There's a reason why the UFC cut him. Nothing against him. He made a good run back. Ended up with a welterweight title here in Bellator. That's nothing to shake a stick at. He had to go through a good list of people to get to it. And he's held it for a couple fights now. However, when you start second guessing, am I still mean enough for this sport? It's not a matter of being fucking mean, jag off. It's, do you still have the yearning to fight? If you don't have the yearning to fight, you're going to get beat. Why? Because you know what? That tells you where your heart is. Heart makes up everything in fucking MMA. Look, you can be a fucking 10-1 underdog. You can be the goddamn Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey Holly Holm and be the underdog. If your heart ain't in it, you're going to get fucked up. It doesn't matter. You can be the underdog and you still go in there and whip ass. Even when you should have never been called the underdog before, but that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, with this, I think what's really going to fuck him in this fight, it's not the fact that he can't stand and bang. I know he can't handle the jiu-jitsu. That's a fucking given, period. But he could stand and bang. He could still put on a war. He's been down that road before. He knows how to do that. That's ingrained in him because he's been down that road. However, with the whole questioning whether or not you actually still want to fight, at that point, fucking retire with the belt around your waist, vacate it, be like, I'm done. Thanks for the ride, guys. It was awesome. I'm going to go out on top. However, if he's pulling the old, I'm a true fighter, so I'm going to go out on my shield, good fucking on you. But put up a fucking fight doing it. But don't say I'm questioning myself. Don't fucking tell people that. Because you know what? When you go in there and then you get your ass whipped, you can go, well, I knew I was questioning myself. Now it's time for me to lay those gloves down in the middle of the fucking cage and walk out. You should have had that fucking game plan already set long before the fight. Because that means if you're saying it out loud to the public now, you've been thinking it for a while fucking longer before you actually fucking said anything out loud or put it in the public side. How? On this other side of the fucking coin, look, for those of you who don't know, I am a huge Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fan. Huge. I've gotten to train with Hoist. I've gotten to train with a lot of the Gracie guys before. And they are, I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. They are fucking fantastic people. As a whole, and I shouldn't have said I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I am going to sugarcoat this because they're just fucking very nice people. And look, when I've had the chance to train with them, they were fucking fantastically nice. They welcome you with open arms. They're very humble about what they do as well, as far as the jiu-jitsu is concerned. At least most of the family is. There's a couple that are kind of fucking loudmouthed, but there's a reason why you don't see those guys fighting on these cards. But either way, that fucking jiu-jitsu, I think you're 100% right, and that's what's going to win the fight. I think what's going to happen I don't think it's going to be via rear naked. He's not going to get an RNC. I think what's going to end up happening, he's going to end up with one of two things. I think he'll end up getting side control, arm triangle, or possibly, or not arm triangle, excuse me, head and arm choke. Or the other one that I think that would be very interesting to see, because I haven't seen it in a while out of a Gracie, would be to just a straight fucking armbar finish. I haven't seen a lot of those from Gracie's in a while, and that's something they're fantastic at. But the dude can fucking box. He can bang. He really can throw some fucking skins. Like, he's ready to get in there and just blast people. However, I can't say that it's going to be a lopsided fight where Neiman's going to come in there and fuck Rory all up. It's not going to be that at all. He's going to have to fight to earn. And even if Rory's head is in the wrong spot, he's still going to have to fight to earn it, because you know what? Rory's no fucking slouch. He's got a very high fight IQ. He's been down the road before. He's been in massive wars, so he knows what to expect when shit goes awry. He knows what to do when those bad situations occur. However, when it comes down to the grappling aspect of things, he's going to get completely outclassed in a very ugly way. And so I think what's going to happen is probably you're looking late third round, fourth round. I think that's when Gracie's going to end up taking the fight if he wins the fight. If not, it'll end up going to decision. Because if he can't manage to finish him late fourth round, middle of fourth round, somewhere there, the fight's going to end up going to decision. Then it's going to be who pointed the best while they were on their feet, who managed fucking top position. And what that tells me is Gracie's not going to be able to just pull guard. He knows that, because he is part of that up-and-coming generation that knows you can't be a one-trick pony, because we've already beat that pony to death, and we're not going to keep kicking the dead pony. So although there's one other caveat to this that I do want to mention about this. I feel like Gracie also, I feel like he got kind of pushed up to the fucking title fight pretty goddamn quick. Don't get me wrong, he's got a perfect record currently, but I feel like he really got thrust in the spotlight really fast into this, and I'm perfectly all right with it. However, if he fucking loses this, I don't even know what to say for the Gracies except for you better hope your boy over there in the UFC does some fucking work, because look, I love you guys, but y'all do need to put some gold back in your fucking trophy cabinet, because it's been a long fucking time. Hey, when was the last time a Gracie held a title or won a belt of any sort in mixed martial arts? It goes way the fuck back. I mean, UFC, fuck, the prime example of being past the one-trick pony stage. You can no longer be Hoist Gracie, wear your gi in to the fucking octagon, use it to choke people. They did away with that a long time ago. And you know what? That's when you started to notice a lot of those one-trick ponies started getting fucked up. The second they took away that ability to use gis, things like that, it fucked a lot of them, because they had so heavily relied on it. That's why you see people who do actual Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, a lot of them, they'll run 2, 3, 5 classes a week. And usually at least 2 of those classes, if not more, are no-gi classes. Because you have to learn how to manage without the use of the gi. Don't get me wrong. I love gi classes because there's so many more fucking chokes that you can do with a gi than you can fucking having the naked arm. Because you can't do fucking simple sleeve chokes. You can't manage some other ones there, but there's so many fucking things out there that you can do without it, that at this point, that one trick pony show, it's long gone because of that. Which, like I said earlier, there are a few exceptions to that rule. Speaking of one-trick pony type things where you know this shit doesn't work, let's go back a ways to I think it was the UFC was like 105 or 109. Randy the Natural Couture and James Tooney fucking fighting. That fight should have never fucking happened. Period. You had a pure boxer versus arguably one of the greatest mixed martial arts fighters of all time. Captain America, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, he annihilated him, showing him that you can't be a one-trick pony and expect to win in a fucking actual fight. So this one going to be Gracie. He is going to get it done via submission. I think it's going to be head and arm choke or an arm bar, though. What I would really love to see, but you don't see often because of the no-gi thing, would be an arm triangle choke. I would love to explain that to you. If you guys don't know what it is, it's kind of hard to explain without showing you, and I don't have a dummy here in front of me. So go look it up. It's completely different than what some people call head and arm chokes and arm triangle. They're not the same they're not the same at all. Because I guess the easiest way to say it, and I'm almost positive it'll never happen in MMA because it's tough to do when you have a fucking gi on. Basically, you grab one guy's wrist so it holds his arm across his throat. You snake your other arm in as you're holding your own forearm in the back. You're holding your own forearm, and it creates a triangle with their forearm and your forearm, and you just wrench your fucking arms together and puts them out. But I'd love to see something like that, but that's kind of like seeing a fucking go-go plata. You don't even see those often. And look, a lot of people know what a Numa plata is, but they don't know what a go-go plata is. And it's fucking using your shin to choke them out while you have one arm kind of fucking trapped and dangling at the side because you decided against the omoplata or because the dumbass didn't move the right way, so it set it up perfectly. But it's definitely going to end up being a fucking nice submission victory. Gracie going to win it, even though I think he was thrown into the spotlight a little too soon. On the other side of that, I think he could have kind of sneaked out. However, when he does win this, that's going to open up some fucking fantastic cross fucking promotion fights. Because you know what? There are people out there who want to be the Sakurabas of the sport and be the Gracie killers. I'm just saying they're out there. And I say Sakuraba because some people don't know who that is. He was the epitome of the Gracie killer. He went in and annihilated Gracie after Gracie after Gracie. Because yeah, and so if you haven't seen Sakuraba, please do yourself a favor and go look him up. Go look at those old fucking Pride fights. He got into some wars, but he also fucking just did things that you wouldn't think he would do. But anyway, well, back to the thing ahead. Rory, your mind's in the wrong spot, dude. It's time for you to hang them up. Look, when you start second guessing your fucking what you make your money on, it's time to hang them up. Go find a different career as a coach. I'm sure you'll be a fantastic fucking MMA coach. Even if you can get a job pretty much anywhere. You have the credibility. You've been down the road. But when you start second guessing, it's time to hang it up. To be honest, I don't want to see you pull the fucking, I'm going to say the Gustafsson. Gustafsson should have hung him up before his fight in Sweden. But he wanted to fight in Sweden one more time. Can't blame him. Home country. I get that. When he said he was thinking about hanging him up and then didn't and took the fight, that was a fucking horrid move. I hate to say this, but there's no way Gustafsson won that fight. Period. Anthony Lionheart Smith, new breed of fighter, and I get it. Rory, you're in the same fucking boat here, dude. You are the old guard in this situation. Don't take that the wrong way. It's not that you're a bad fighter, but it's time for you to fucking hang them up. Because when you're second guessing yourself, don't go in there and get your ass beat for no reason.
No, I completely agree, and I think it's actually, I was thinking it as you were talking about it as well. As much as I'm screaming from the fucking rooftops the praises of Bellator for stepping out of the shadow of the UFC and taking the initiative to start the cross-organizational fucking fights, to start opening the door to publicly say, we welcome anyone from any other organization to do this cross-promotional shit so we can get everybody more shine, we can get everybody more money, we can get this bigger, we can grow the sport, blah, blah, blah. The caveat to that is that as much as they're trying to step out of the shadow of the UFC, we love you, Alan. As much as they're trying to step out of the shadow of the UFC and lead the way with this cross-promotional shit, just like you said, this is a perfect example of doing the exact same thing that the UFC just did. They're putting the guy who's talking about potentially retiring before he even gets into the ring against a guy who is exactly the representation of the new breed of MMA fighters. And it's, you know, I don't want to wish this on anybody as much as it may seem like I'm pushing it, but at the same time, we say this over and over and over when this comes up. If you're already talking about retiring before you get into the ring, you shouldn't get into the fucking ring because your mind is clearly not there. And the only thing that I can hope, as weird as it is to hope, is that this fight goes down. Neiman more than likely is going to take this belt and become the new champion. And Rory should take his gloves off, lay them down in the octagon the exact same way that Gus just did last weekend, and leave while you still have a somewhat decent legacy to your name. We don't need to see another Gleason Tebow getting knocked out by every fucking Joe Schmo that gets signed. We don't need to see another legend get turned into a fucking soup can because his mind's not in it, but his ego is too stubborn to tell him that he can stop.
Don't be the gatekeeper, please.
Right? We've got too fucking many of them as it is right now. There are way too many fighters right now who passed their prime a decade ago, but cannot bring themselves to stop. We already have more than enough indications that Rory's heart is not in it anymore. I get that you've got the belt. That's clearly not going to last forever. And I'm hoping, as weird as it is to say, that when he loses the belt this weekend, he realizes you've got everything else going on in your life that's got you happy there. Walk away from this before it starts to drag you down.
That, and I don't want you to be in a fucking bad spot where you don't know up from down, left from right. You can't function on a daily basis because you've gotten your ass kicked from too many wars. I mean, there's fighters out there that are like that now where you go and look at some of them, they're just fucking, they're literally hot bags of shit.
Perfect example. I don't want to see Rory have to retire under the same conditions that King Mo just did. King Mo has done some interviews this week. He came on Ariel Helwani's show this week and said that I literally couldn't get on the treadmill to jog to start my warm-up cardio. You never want to hear a fighter have to say words like, I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't manipulate my fingers to tie my shoes. As much as an MMA fan, as a combat sports fan as I am, I would never in a million years wish any of these guys that I love watching to put themselves and their body through such detriment to where they have to leave the sport in a condition where they can't tie their own fucking shoes. Take the example, learn from the gentlemen that have come before you and set the fucking road. Retire while you're still able to retire.
And I think the same for fighters I don't like either. Look, exactly. Just because I don't like you doesn't mean you weren't fucking good or anything of that nature. Look, I'll even say it. DC, when it's time, you already set your time frame, and I like that he did that. Because you know what? I don't want to see him get to that point. He's a fantastic fucking announcer when it comes to dictating fights. I do enjoy some of his commentary. Not all of it, because some of it is biased. But on the other side of that, he's a fantastically fucking awesome coach. I don't care how much you hate the guy. Look at any time he's coached somebody, he's done just fantastic bodies of work coaching. I hope that that's something that he actually goes out and continues. Even if him opening his own gym would be fucking awesome. Think of the quality of fighters that would come out of that. Because he's that good of a coach.
You also got to think, though, And of course, we're also just speculating clearly, but you would have to think, at least to some degree, that when he hangs it up, because he's already said, regardless of all the shit that keeps happening, he's going to hang them up fairly soon. DC has already made it clear he doesn't want to be a gatekeeper. He's ready to hang it up. He's just putting the last few signatures on his finalized body of work, he says. So we know he's going to hang them up. But you got to think, at least to a small degree, based on what it's done for him publicly and personally, that when DC hangs him up, there's a good chance that he's going to go become a coach at American Top Team.
I could very well see that. And you know what? I couldn't blame him a bit there.
They really, really did. No matter what you feel about them, and I'm a prime example of making this fucking statement, no matter what you feel about that fat piece of shit, American Top Team and his work with Cain Velasquez there particularly has made him into the combat sports athlete that he is today, and has kept arguably Cain as one of the best combat sports grapplers in history. And that is directly attributable, regardless of both of their previous settings, to the American Top Team setup. So you got to think there's a chance that he might just hang up the gloves and go step over into a role at ATT.
And that all rolls back into the same thing here, where Rory, you've got the background. You can go coach. You might not be one of the best coaches out there. I've never seen anything body that you've coached.
Go work with Faraz.
Yeah, dude, you
TriStar.
You can go to plenty of fucking places, and after you built the resume coaching, sure, there's plenty of those teams. Fucking Team Alpha Male, fucking
right,
American Top Team, whoever those guys.
Shit, the training lab would love to have him. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah, the UFC training lab would fucking take him in a heartbeat.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, look, they've got fucking Gray Maynard in there now. Arguably one of the best wrestlers of fucking MMA of all time.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin's running the show. Gray Maynard's working directly with the fucking athletes. Why the fuck wouldn't they want to bring Rory back in from a fucking coaching and training point of view?
That's prime example of who was Gray Maynard fucking cornering this last weekend.
Yep, Jessica fucking I.
I'm just saying, it didn't quite work out in Jessica's favor, but
to be fair though, those odds, that path was pretty much set before she ever started down it though. Which, you know, I'll give Jessica all the props in the fucking world for taking that fight, getting in as great a conditioning as she was, and going after it with 100% mindset. But realistically, 99% of all of us hardcore fans knew how that fight was going to go. Maybe not particularly with the head kick, but we knew how that fight was going to end one way or another.
Speaking of that, I'm a little disappointed that I did not get a remake of the head kick with somebody's fucking soul leaving their body and getting on a plane and going home.
I agree.
That one was one that fucking deserved it.
Yeah, I think Ray Rod missed the boat. But to be fair, thanks to I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, but there's a new company that's working with the UFC now, and they've microchipped all the gloves, all the fucking, there's like microchips in the shorts, there's microchips in the shirts, in the gloves, in everything, so that they can track the speed and movement and the impact force of all the tracks. There is now an animation that has been released from the technical, or not, I guess it would be from the 3D rendered point of view for the impact of the head kick to Jessica and then the fall over. So you can see the actual base movement of it, not just from the camera's point of view, but from the actual animated directional point of view. And it's interesting shit, man. You can see Valentina literally turns and puts a full fucking snap and lands it exactly fucking square, dude. That's one of those. That's why I keep saying, man, Valentina is so fucking dangerous. I don't know anybody that's going to really pose a threat to her.
No, and she's going to run that division for a long, long fucking time. In fact, I think she can run that division long enough to put Anderson Silva's fucking title run at fucking odds.
Well, and on the subject of Valentina, I was talking about this with somebody else the other day. There's a legitimate school of thought to think that not only is Valentina going to hold that 125 belt until she decides she's done with it, but realistically, if nothing else, just based on past experiences, she may very well go back and challenge Amanda again for that 135-pound belt to get herself secured as the first female double champ, the 125 and 135-pound belt. I am a very, very, very frustratingly vocal opponent of the decision in both of the Valentina versus Amanda fights. If you go back and watch both of those matches, both of them went to decision and both were given to Amanda. And I feel, based on significant strikes, damage, aggression in the octagon, all the standard rules you judge an MMA match by, Valentina beat Amanda in both situations. So I think realistically, coming back to a potential third matchup with her for that 135-pound belt again, for Valentina's status as the champ to combat Amanda's status as champ, that could be a fucking spectacular setup in the mix.
You know, the only, here, we'll use it here. Alan, we love you. There is a caveat to that. There you go. Thank you. Amanda's a completely different fighter than she was then. Now, there's something completely different about her than those first two fights with Valentina. And look, Valentina obviously won those first two. I don't know that would be that easy. I don't even know. She would have to do something fucking fantastic that I know she can do. But the lioness is now on a whole different. She's on a whole different game. What bitch walks through fucking Cyborg's punches and just blast the piss out of her and KOs her? Nobody.
Absolutely true.
She has no fear. She's past that point in that career where she was a little meek and timid at first. No, it's that right there. That is the right now. Shevchenko and fucking her would be the ultimate women's super fight. Like right now, that is the super fight to make that they really should do. You know what? They're both gonna run their fucking divisions. We've seen it already. It is what it is. Put these bitches on display. Let them show what they can do in a super fight. Whether Valentina goes up, I doubt Amanda's gonna come down because that's a fucking fuck ton of a cut for a fucking yoked up little girl like she is.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, even a fucking catchweight fight between those two would fucking be phenomenal. I would pay to watch a catchweight without a title on the line. However, that title online, that'll sell the pay-per-views, might be only 200,000, so still only like a quarter of what they normally would do. But hey, who's to say? But we're past that whole fuck off ESPN deal shit.
Right. Well, and one of the reasons that I mentioned that is because Amanda recently has said that she's going to defend the 135-pound belt against Holly, but then regardless of the outcome, her next fight, at least the next fight, maybe not, or maybe that fight and more, is going back to 145. So Amanda's already got her intentions made that she's going back up because everybody sees how fucking big Amanda is. How she makes 135 is legitimately impressive. I am not the biggest fan of Amanda, but how that swole ass female Yoel Romero makes 135 confuses the ever living fuck out of me. But she has said multiple times now, especially recently on Embedded with Nina, that 135 is where she's defending the belt next, but then she's going back to 145 because the 135-pound cut is getting more and more difficult for her.
Yeah.
What better way to transition her finally out of 135 to stay and reign at 145 than a rematch against Valentina at 135 where Valentina takes the belt, because I have zero faith whatsoever that Holly's going to beat Amanda. I think Holly at this point has become a gatekeeper / fucking soup can on the ladies' side, and she's going to get her ass beat by Amanda. I think Amanda's going to beat the shit out of her.
I think Holly's gotten fucked a little bit, though. I really do. Because you know what? They had her bouncing between fucking weight classes. Go up, fight 145. Go back down to 135. I think she just got fucked, to be quite honest. And I think that's kind of a factor. Because of that bouncing around, especially when she went in and got just fucking derailed by Cyborg. I mean,
yeah. Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying, is that I think that what Cyborg did at 145, I think Amanda's going to do to her at 135. I don't think I will give her this. I'm clearly, surprise, I'm not a fan of Holly's either. But as a true MMA fan, I'm willing to give credit where credit is due. Holly has some legitimate skill, but compared to the level of a Valentina, compared to the level of an Amanda, compared to the level of a Cyborg, I don't think she holds a candle. You saw what Valentina did to her. That fucking head kick, though. She made Holly's head kick on Ronda just forgotten completely because Valentina put head to foot and said, nah, bitch, ka-chunk. I think realistically, Holly's going to be cannon fodder here. She's going to get her ass beat and thrown back to the back of the fucking line because she's got that new 6-fight contract for some fucking reason. And then I think that's going to set up Valentina versus Amanda, the rematch at 135, where Valentina takes it this time. And that's Amanda's justification to go up to 145 and stay there. Easier weight cut, less difficult competition, lighter championship reign as she focuses more on her girlfriend, who is now a wife, girlfriend, I'm not sure what their official title is, as Nina makes her run to try and get herself the 115 belt. It's very Days of Our Lives kind of story, but if you look at the overall story arc that's been playing out lately on the LUMI side of the MMA world for UFC, it's pretty plausible, I would say.
Oh. Things has just popped in my head. I think this is quite funny. We just went through the entire fucking wormhole. We were talking about people fucking retiring from MMA, and we somehow just started into this. And we started with a fucking Rory and fucking Gracie. How the fuck? We've clicked on the YouTube links one too many times to get to this point.
The fucking rabbit hole happens, damn it. This is a perfect example. You're absolutely correct. I didn't even think about it. We started talking about the fucking fight championship of Rory versus fucking Neiman, and we ended up talking about Valentina versus Amanda and Nina.
It just hit me. I'm going, how the fuck did we even get here? That was fantastic.
That is a perfect example of what can happen when you let some of us who are legitimate fans of MMA talk unrestricted. We get into shit like this. So thank you for helping reel that in. So with that as the catalyst, if folks haven't gotten enough of our fucking shenanigans and MMA bullshit, how can they get a hold of you to carry this conversation on, TJ?
There's more fuckery to be had on Wednesday nights, 9:30 Central Time. The name is right there. Yep, I'm pointing to it right. We're good. I can see it on my screen. Fuck you if you can't on yours. By the way, whatever. Doesn't matter. Now, 9:30 Central Time, my YouTube channel. Hit me up on the Instagram, the email, whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. If you want to talk about MMA, hit me up anytime. Might not answer right away, but you will get an answer, and you may not like it, and I don't give a fuck. But we got to do this again more often. I think this live show aspect of it is a lot fucking. I like the whole organic feel of it. This one. Don't get me wrong. I love our pre-recorded shows.
Hell yeah.
This is a blast. I'll do this anytime.
I think we might try and start definitely working more of these in, because these live shows do tend to get clearly crazier than the pre-recorded shows that we do as well. But
we might have to find just one solid body who sits in here with us and says, hey, back on topic, assholes.
Right, yeah, we're gonna have to get somebody that's got a stick, just fucking gets us back to talking what we're supposed to. Oh, but TJ, thank you first and foremost for your time. I do appreciate you coming and doing this with me here, brother. We're going to call that all for this episode here. So remember, if we have made you giggle, if we have sparked any thought of interest, if we have given you any opinions you did not previously had, or made a point that you hadn't conceded before, consider giving us a thumbs up, maybe a subscribe. Hell, share the episode if we really made you chuckle a little bit and help us grow this damn show. But on the other side of that coin, if we just sounded like a couple of dipshits hanging out, talking like morons in front of a fucking camera to you, give us a thumbs down. We deserved it, and I won't dispute that at all. But we're going to do that, and we're going to call that all for this evening. So remember, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. TJ's got something to say here, and then we're going to talk about flamingos.
Even if you want to go down a rabbit hole, come hang out.
There you go. And don't be a flamingo.
Sorry, that caveat is gone.
Flamingos and caveats. Flamingos and caveats.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up, they were chopping them down. It's an ancient Chinese art, and everybody knew their part. From a fainting to a slip, and a kicking from the hip. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with